to Monday Night Live at Cafe Gratitude. Thank you. So let's see. Full house tonight means you guys all know who's here. Dr. Michael Klaper. I'm very excited to have him as a speaker. I'll be handing the mic off to him in a few minutes after I do my normal business here. Okay, so tonight, wow, Dr. Michael Klaper. So, all right, here we go. As well as being a 30-plus year vegan MD, Dr. Klaper is a gifted teacher, humorous lecturer, and the author of successful books and videos on cholesterol-free nutrition. Dr. Klaper has contributed to the making of 2 PBS television productions, Food for Thought, and the award-winning Diet for a New America. Dr. Klaper also hosts the popular radio program Sounds of Healing in the Washington, D.C. area. New to Sonoma County, Dr. Klaper has recently joined the medical staff of the True North Health and Fasting Center in Santa Rosa. He was here at Monday Night Live early in March with the True North panel, and tonight he's here on his own to present From the Operating Room to the Dining Room, One Doctor's Nutritional Evolution. Dr. Michael Klaper.
Thank you, Shea. Thank you all for coming. I'm honored that you would come out to just hear me talk. Well, as this goes on till 8:30, I thought I'd talk at you till, I guess, about 8, and then we'll throw it open for questions for half an hour. Fair enough. Hope you'll be sick of hearing me by that time. Okay, well, 50 minutes to tell you how I got to be standing here. Been a few miles since it all started. God, I date myself back in 1947. My God, I was born in Chicago, and in Chicago, in the Midwest, in the summer times, back in the 1950s, there was a nasty disease called infectious poliomyelitis that would come through the cities every summer. There'd be polio epidemics. And they'd be pretty fearsome, and nobody really understood why they would happen. We now know it was from all the little kids in the swimming pools and on the beaches. But it was so fearsome that my mom and dad had concern for my older brother and myself, and my mother had an uncle who had a dairy farm up in northern Wisconsin. And so as soon as school would let out, the next day we'd all pile in the car and go up to the farm in Wisconsin. In fact, I was up there for my very first summer and spent my first 16 summers till my uncle passed away. So I've been driving tractors and milking cows since I was 7. And those 16 summers on the farm in Wisconsin certainly changed me, certainly opened me up to the natural world. I would spend my winters, of course, in this classroom in school in Chicago, but summer times were filled with the natural world, with Wisconsin thunderstorms in the afternoon, and we had 300 acres of forest, and I've been walking through the trees since I was a little kid, and whenever I need solace or some good thinking time, I head to the forest, head to the woods. It's a favorite place of mine. And of course, the animals were there. We had 40 head of cattle, which was a big herd at that time. Now they're in the thousands. But we had cows. I knew them all by name. I milked them twice a day. And there were all the dogs and the cats, but there were the wild animals. There were the hawks and the crows and the frogs in the field and the ground squirrels and the groundhogs and the foxes. And all the natural world was there in its beauty and its truth. And the laws of physics were there, and water ran downhill, and moving the hay bales up into the loft took work, and there was mechanics there, and the tractors, and there was human nature and the farm hands. All of life was there. It made a big impression, really vivid in those early years. And it stuck with me all my life, still does, of course. And I was one of the kids on the farm. My older brother was there. I had 4 cousins up there, and there'd be various other kids in the Wisconsin area would come through. And I was the kid who always wanted to make sure everybody was okay. When there was a injured person or an injured animal, I really wanted to make sure they were okay. And so we had a cat who had gashed its shoulder, and we shaved its skin, and we only had Scotch tape and glue at that time, but we glued it together, and we were hauling one of the sheep, one of the young sheep, up to the hayloft in a sling, and it panicked and worked himself free and fell from our makeshift elevator and fractured his leg. It was obvious, and so I got some wooden slats and bandaging, and we put him in a splint there, and healed up okay, actually. He walked with a bit of a limp. We called him Chester after the Gunsmoke character who had a limp there. But I was the one who wanted things to be okay, and I had a feel for the natural world, and I knew they were going to converge. I knew I was going into some type of biological science. My father was a dentist. My older brother became a biology teacher. We have a passion for the natural world. And my dad was a dentist on the south side of Chicago. But on Wednesday afternoons, he would give up his day off. Instead of playing golf, he would go down to the University of Illinois Hospital at Cook County. And he was on the cleft palate team of these wonderful physicians. These children would be born with this terrible defect of cleft lips and cleft palates. The two sides of their face would not come together fully, and they were left with either large splits in their lip, or the more profound ones would manifest all the way through their hard palate. Devastating condition. You can't obviously relate normally to people. It's such a cosmetically devastating defect. But also you can't speak because all the air that you use to form your words comes out your nose, and I just can't form proper words. So in order to help these kids, it's a surgical repair, of course, but you need more than a surgeon. You need a whole team. You need the maxillofacial surgeon, you need an ears, nose, and throat specialist, but you also need a plastic surgeon for the lip repair, and you need an orthodontist to bring the teeth in straight. You need a speech therapist, and you need a dentist because the upper teeth don't come in right. You need to do implants, etc. And my dad was the dentist on the cleft palate team. And he would take me down on Wednesday. You want to go, Mike? And I said, sure. And so at age 9 and 10, I would be sitting around with all these wonderful men and women who all brought their expertise and their viewing, their craft, to focus on this one little boy. There would be a succession of them, of course, during the course of the morning. But to hear each of these wizards lend their seeing and their power and their compassion to the sole focus of making this child whole again. And I would see them, they would come back several weeks later after the surgery and just be a remarkable, remarkable transformation. And I knew I wanted to be one of those kind of people who brought that kind of healing to people's lives. So it wasn't long before I found myself in high school, and I knew I wanted to be a physician. There was no question about that. I knew I didn't want to be a dentist. I watched my dad come home after 12 hours standing at the dental chair, swollen ankles and dead tired. I said, I won't do that. But being a physician, you get to move around more, and so I decided to go to medical school. Went down to, when I graduated, I went to the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, and after 3 years of pre-med, it was the end of the 60s. I was down in college during the rip-roaring flower power years, and I came up to the U of I medical school in 1968 and graduated in 1972. A lot of things happened. In 1968, the Chicago Democratic Convention was held in Chicago, and as a first-year medical student, I found myself out in the first aid tent patching up heads of the demonstrators that got them split open by our Chicago's finest policemen. And had a couple other interesting experiences that went along with the 1960s.